Welcome back to Beyond the Blockchain Radio. This episode, we're going to go deep into something epic, and I want to talk about, which will be Launchpads. For me, this cycle, 2025, the real true winners have been the Launchpads. So today we're going to go deep diving into something, that is the biggest gainer of the cycle. Nobody's talking about, and it's really the top signal of the bull run. The real engines behind the 50x, 100x, and 300x launches. And yes, we're talking Pump.fun, but also other launch pads that whales are quietly, the ones that are, really gaining traction. Influencers are ignoring in the underground spots where some of the next Solana and Ethereum microcap monsters are already forming. So let's get into it. In the past cycles, Launchpads were hype machines, IDOs, this, that, whitelist that. This cycle, everything is fucking changed. They literally pushed, I call it a microwave. You push one, boom, you're a dev, you got a project, you send it to 100 million, and then they freaking rug it. All kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not calling Pump.fun a rug. Actually, for me, they created something epic. Even with all the saturation in the market, what they created when you're on Pump.fun before bonding, and we'll get more into this, they created a way that the token is actually rug-proof. And what do I mean by rug? If you're a retail investor, you have no idea what I'm talking about. A rug is when the project owner pretty much either dumps all the tokens or pulls the liquidity. So when they go to launch a token, you have to add liquidity to match it with the token, and they can steal all the money, and then everyone's fucked, basically. So Pump.fun kind of created a new concept where it's kind of rug proof until it bonds. That's a whole different situation. But launch pads for me now are, they're like a new function, like mini VCs. They filter talent, they signal narratives, they create community funnels, they distribute early liquidity. But here's the real shift. Retail finally has access to what has been basically insider only deal flow. And that's why Launchpad meta matters. It's where the next trends are born. So let's get into the king of Launchpads, Pump.fun. If you think Pump is just a meme casino, you are completely missing the meta. Pump tracks narratives better than any analytics platform. When a new trend is forming, AI agents, physical back tokens, man versus cat coins, all kinds of crazy shit. You'll see it on Pump before Twitter, before YouTubers, before the market, before even myself. It's literally the heartbeat of retail attention. It's literally the survival rate is improving quietly. Nobody mentions this, but more and more Pump.fun launches are actually becoming brands, teams, full ecosystems. The old cycle was launch, pump, fucking die. This cycle, it's launch, community, build, listings. But most recently, we see launch, rug, community cries, and then it becomes a community takeover. But Pump.fun definitely created something this cycle that has been good and bad. They created saturation of the market, which, for me, it's kind of tough when you have high conviction plays and all this money is being kind of pushed to the side to all these smaller market cap projects. And that's why I don't think we're going to see things run like, Doge, Pepe, that kind of stuff, like back in 2021, but it also created a new concept of almost like for a trader, myself, I figured out Pump.fun. I was in the trenches, months and months ago. And I figured that for me, you had to do all your trading before bonds because, when the money's in there and you're trading, it's rug proof, right? They could sell the tokens, but you got to watch the bundles, but you have a chance to get out. Once it bonds and the dev, grabs the liquidity, it can be all over. So you have to be strategic. Definitely never invest more than you can afford to lose. That is the number one saying in crypto, and it makes perfect sense. Take 5, 10x gains if you can. This is not financial advice. This is just my opinion, what I've been through. I'm a dev, content creator, all kinds of stuff. So I know both sides of things that most people don't know. And for me, coming in as a trader, you have to get out also. You can't just hold everything to the moon unless you trust the dev, if they're trying to build something great and they're just not a great coder and they just want to launch a pump fund because it's easy and the attention's all there. They don't have to do crazy marketing right away. That is a great concept. And now they're doing like video streams. You can go live while, doing the pump funds, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's good and it's bad, but honestly, this cycle for me, the true winners have been the pump funds, the launch pads. It's where the liquidity is, like if you invested in that company or help build it, like that is you're a true winner because then you're not a trader, you're not a dev, you're basically almost like a VC for that platform. And sometimes that can be the 5-10x that you're looking for without getting into some place. But we'll go back to pump fund. Binance is doing some stuff. There's always juicy alpha when it comes to launch pads. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I need some drink more coffee here. It's crazy. Sometimes it builds cults, sometimes it rugs, sometimes it becomes one of the best projects that come out of pump fund. For me, it's really not a launch pad. It's been the meta of this entire bull cycle. And there's also Jupiter, LFG, disciplined, serious counterpart to Pump.fun. Everyone sees it as a curated launch pad, but behind the scenes, Jupiter is actually building a pipeline for retail institutional liquidity. So it gives you pretty much guaranteed investing, fair buy mechanism, DEX integration, automatic liquidity support. It's almost like the Binance Launchpad of Solana era, except it's community powered and 10 times faster. So the best part is these launch pads are really taking over the cycle of 2025. And, if you were back in 2021 and you were holding these meme coins and just waiting, the reason those things aren't moving as fast is because of things like Pump Fund, the launch pads. Like it's so easy to launch a token now. And now you're dividing your community even in half and in half and in half and in half. And there's millions and millions and millions of tokens launched every day. So do you realistically think that your Shiba Inu, your Doge, those things will kind of rebound and go to the moon now that there's so much saturation? Think of liquidity. Retail's not back. No one has any money. Institutions are really driving this cycle. So for me, I'm just giving you the honest. This is no fluff bullshit. This is beyond the blockchain. I go way deeper than most people want to go, and I give you the truth. That's why you come to this channel. So definitely like, subscribe. I'm not here to tell you, oh, your shitcoin's going 10x. No, fuck all that stuff, because that's not the truth. The truth is what I tell you. I'm pretty much the Howard Stern of crypto. I'll tell you anything. I don't really care. But at the end of the day, for what I've seen, alts have been running, sporadically, there's been like Chronos moving, Solana ran, but it didn't trickle down to your little shitty meme coin. I think almost the whole community of crypto needs to come together and send a token without VC backing, without insider crap, the cabal, all that stuff. We need like those days of Pepe, right? The reason Pepe won, first of all, there was no launch pad. Second of all, the community engagement. There were X spaces every day. Everything you went on, you saw Pepe, right? And that was during a bear market. So there are bull sentiment around launch pads this cycle. People hate them. People love them. But it does give you exposure. And if you're, a dev with not a lot of money, you can get on Pump Fund and everyone knows what it is. So you could send a project from, starting with $1,000 to who knows? You could go to $1 billion market cap. You never know. But for me, it's the microwave coding of the cycle. It is what it is. We all have to deal with it. It's just how you move about it. And there's definitely ways to make money. So my suggestion really is not financial advice. Is if you don't know who the dev is, maybe do a couple plays and get out before bonds, because then at least your money is secure. it can't rug. And then once it bonds, meaning it moves over to another liquidity pool, creates a new chart on DEX tools, then you're off to the races. And then it can go either really good or really bad, but 95% of them tank off. And now with the live streaming, people are doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So, have fun in the trenches, but always come back to the basics of holding this, the real assets that will stand the test of time. Your portfolio, for me, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, all this stuff with the ETF. That's most of my allocation, but the small stuff I have fun with. Like I fuck with Pump.fun. Why not? But I know when to get in and get out and move on. And it is what it is, but just want to talk about Pump.fun and the launch pads of this cycle. So let me know in the comment section if you're on Pump.fun, if you know anything about it. Do you want me to do more videos going more into liquidity pools and all kinds of stuff on the dev side of things? Because I know everything about everything. So definitely catch you on the next episode, and love to hear your guys' opinion in the comment section. So like, subscribe, do all that great stuff, and we'll catch you on another episode of Beyond the Blockchain. Have a great day, and remember, Zach Jeter always says, take profits. Have a great day.